I'm at work, it's lunchtime, and I intermittent fast, so I got 30 minutes to kill. You know what that means? It's time for a quick DM tip. It's chew on this. Lunchtimes with the Dungeon Master, only on Polyhedral Paradise. Hi, and welcome to Polyhedral Paradise. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. Maybe share it out to a few friends. You guys know the whole YouTube drill by now, so let's get into it. Well, today on Chew on This, we are going to talk about the number one thing that you should never do at the table. But I hear you say, Mr. Dungeon Master, sir, there's lots of things you shouldn't do at the table, like not sharing your chips, like, drinking excessively, like throwing your friend across the DM screen because he said something bad about your dog. You know, there's an awful lot of stuff you shouldn't do. But in all seriousness, though, the one thing that you should never do at the table is start an argument over the rules with your Dungeon Master. I think we've all been there. You're in the middle of playing a game, everything's getting heated, and your Dungeon Master makes a call that you don't particularly agree with. You think you read something in the rule book that said something different, you just have a general different opinion of it, but something's sticking in your craw that call just was not right. And maybe you raise your hand and you're like, excuse me, sir, you're wrong. That's not correct, and I have a problem with that. You stand up and you slam your PHB down on the table and you start to flip through it. And I'm going to tell you, and every other DM that you talk to is probably going to tell you, that is 100% the wrong way to handle that situation. Now, first of all, as a player, the words, Dungeon Master, you're wrong, should never come out of your mouth. Never. This isn't to say the Dungeon Master's always right. No, far from it, we're not. We could be wrong, but that type of language should be kept to yourself. See, at the end of the day, Dungeon Masters are a particularly control freaky type people, and as control freaks, we don't like hearing the words, you're wrong. It kind of sets the wrong mood for whatever conversation is about to follow. As far as I'm concerned, that's a verbal equivalent of walking up to a complete stranger, punching them in the mouth, and asking for directions on how they get to the safe way. Yeah, whatever follows next is always going to be tainted by that first step. And it is just going to lead to some arguing, bitching, and bickering at the table, and nobody wants that. That does nothing but grind the game to a screeching halt, and it is almost impossible to get back to the level of excitement that you had before the words, Dungeon Master, you're wrong, came out of your mouth. So instead, in the instance where there is a question about rules or a question about procedure, or you feel like the mistake has been made, you need to just bring it to the attention of the Dungeon Master, and what you guys should honestly do is note it and then shelve it until after the game is over. You know, make a note of it, write down what you think the problem was, what you think the inaccuracy in the rules or ruling was, whatever the infraction, so to speak. Write it down, note it, and shelve it for the time being, realizing that in-game is not the time to deal with that stuff. Then later on, outside the game, when Dungeon Master Rick James ain't in super control freak mode, you guys can have a civil conversation about it, come to some sort of understanding. Because remember, in-game, at the table, even though the Dungeon Master may not always be right, he's never wrong. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's my quick tip for today. The biggest mistake you can make at the table. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? What's the biggest mistake you think can be made at the table? Leave that in the conversation down below. That's it for me today. Thanks for stopping by, and as I like to say, in the game of life, may you always roll with advantage. I'll catch you guys next time.